All right, Ashley. Nice job. I have some comments though, and I think that they're going to make some sense. The first thing I want to mention is that it was a good idea to change your background. Otherwise, you're talking about a surrealism, a surrealistic quote, using a surrealistic background in the period of surrealism. So I'm glad you understand that. Now, using the Kalaman Mosher and the Vienna Secession as a visual backdrop for a quote by Dali, it is a very, very good idea. I don't recognize this piece by Kalaman Mosher, and I don't recognize it from Vienna Secession either. Hold on one second about that. So, anyways, as I was saying, I don't recognize this piece. That doesn't mean it's not. I just don't recognize. It must be a pretty obscure piece. But anyways, we really got to get a site in there so we know exactly where the piece came from. So I don't mean in the composition. I mean, somewhere cite your source. All right. Again, I thought I knew all of Mosher's work, but this one's got me going. So I really gotta see the source for that. Okay, a true artist is not one who is inspired, but one who inspires others. Dali. That's great, but in this particular composition, it looks like the composition is one thing and the type is another, because you've got this background here and you've just kind of, instead of working the type in with the composition, basically what you've done is you've kind of pasted the type over the composition, creating, I mean, they're even on two different visual planes, as you can see. This clearly advances in the composition, this clearly recedes in the composition. So you're drawing these differences, indicating to the viewer that these aren't as closely related as they should be. My recommendation is twofold here. Number one, I would not use this typeface because this is a typeface that is very much indicative of Art Deco. So, I think that adds a confusing. It's not a very legible typeface. As we back off, we can clearly see it's really difficult to read. If this was a zine held at arm's length, it would be pretty difficult to read. For this reason, I suggest a different typeface. As far as the way that you have the type composed, my suggestion would be this. You've got the center aligned. I wouldn't do that. I would left align, right reg, okay? And I would incorporate the type right into the composition. In other words, whatever you have to do to get this type into the composition, so it's not just like plastered over the composition. You see what I'm saying? My suggestion would be to sample a color out of the composition itself and place the quote somewhere. I'm not saying that's going to work right there. I'm not real sure how you're going to do that, but place the quote somewhere in the composition using a color from the composition to incorporate the text with the composition, as opposed to putting in a box over the composition. Now, I know the example did that, but I thought it was a mistake. I still do. Okay, and then what you want to do is take a look at your type and try to develop the cadence as it were to be spoken word. So in other words, you say a true artist is not one who is inspired, but one who inspires others. And those breaks are natural breaks that occur at the end of any text line. And it's a natural break because the eye has to the mind takes a little break for the eye to go from the end of one line to beginning of another. So you can use those breaks by recomposing this to develop a cadence for the type. In other words, a true artist is not one who is inspired, new line, but one who inspires others. Okay, so you basically have two lines, and then you would take this and you would put it below the quote down here somewhere, as opposed to being right up there, jamming up that quote and really, really adding too much over there. It's too congested. You see what I'm saying? Okay, those are my recommendations. Other than that, I think that you're really understanding. I think you're really understanding the objective behind these zine pages and how we're making these connections and showing our proficiency in cross-referencing different movements to come up with a cohesive composition for your zine page that indicates a quote from one movement and one artist, and then compares and contrasts that with the work from another movement, another artist. Good job. Let me know about the work and let me know what's going on. Give me the site so I can check that give me the source so I can check that work. And other than that, good job. Any questions, give me a holler. Thank you very much.